Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at the new Separate Ways trailer. We're going to be dissecting it. We're going to be breaking it down, looking at all the scenes to see what's different and what's new, you know, about this new trailer. And to be honest, I'm actually super shocked that we're getting this DLC really soon. Like, it's literally releasing next week, which is that's just crazy, guys. Anyways, let's just get started with the dissecting. Okay, so we have these first couple of images. We don't really need to go over that. We already know exactly where this whole location is in Separate Ways. This is actually Leon's section in the village square. So we're just going to, you know, zoom past this because, to be honest, we don't need to see this. Now, I do like that we're getting an aerial shot here of this whole village fight of Leon. So it also kind of just begs a question: is this how the level is going to start? Because in the OG, that's how the game started. You know, we actually had Eder show up with the whole chickens, her whole doing the little flip. It seems like that's not going to happen with the remake. She's not going to be as close, but I wonder if we're actually going to pass through the whole village section. But going back to what I was saying is that it's interesting that, you know, Eder is actually starting off at like the highest point here in the village. So obviously she's looking at Leon. And so what I'm actually curious about here is if, you know, she's basically going to see Leon fighting, and then she just, you know, from this aerial spot here, and then she's going to descend. So I'm also curious to see where this is. It seems like this is that, you know, that tower that later collapses later on. And I'm also curious if that tower, you know, collapses because of what Eder does, you know, in Separate Ways. Because if you guys remember, after leaving, coming to the village square from Chief Vitorres Mendez's house, once you return to the village square, there's like explosives or whatever, and then the whole tower falls. I wonder if the reason it fell was because of something that Eder did. But anyways, super hyped about this is DLC that's actually releasing next week. But anyways, let's continue. So the other thing that I should also mention is that a lot of these images were very dark. They were super dark. So I actually just, you know, edited them so that they're a lot brighter. So sometimes it looks a little choppy, you know what I mean? Because the pixels, I am pushing it to like the extreme. But yeah, so we're going to be looking at it right here. This section where we actually have Eder looking. At first, I thought that this section right here, and it seems like this is the same section, but at first I thought that this might be the location in the OG, you know, where you actually pass by two areas. In the remake, we didn't really get that. We didn't really get that section. But you know what? Looking at this, the next area here, the next picture, I can tell exactly where this is. You know what? Let's zoom in a little because I'm actually very curious just to see. But this area right here, it honestly reminds me of the area. Now, as mentioned, I'm pushing the pixels here. I'm pushing the brightness here, so you can't really see what's over here. But what I'm assuming this section is that section where in the nighttime, after you leave, you get attacked in the cabin fight with Luis. That whole section where you go through right before you fight the Chainsaw Sisters, the Bella Sisters. Right before that, it seems like that section. This is that section, but during the day. So I wonder, since again, there's no two areas with El Gigante. Who knows? Maybe that does end up playing a part here, but it's interesting. Is she, you know, if we're going here, is she going to fight the El Gigante in this section? I don't know. I'm very curious. There's a lot of questions in my mind because, of course, the remake is different from the OG. But anyways, let's continue on. Yeah, so this is just her. It seems like it's the same scene. She's just looking out into the distance, and it seems like that's where she's going to go. So, yeah. So, of course, we do know that Eder takes a different route, but very excited to return to these areas during a different time of day. You know, but anyways, yeah, so next shot, we actually see her in the castle section. Again, I'm pushing the pixels here a lot because, again, this was completely dark in the trailer. But I try to see if I could see any details here exactly where this could be. You know what? That door kind of reminds me of the locked door that's... Wait, you know what? This area right here kind of reminds me of that. You know, there was like a really bloody kind of section in Resident Evil 4 Remake in the castle section where I remember dissecting this in the trailer where it almost looked like there was a guy kneeling, and it looked very reminiscent to the Temple of Doom scene. It almost seems like it's that hallway. I don't know. There's so many sections of the castle that are so similar, but I'm going to say that this section kind of reminds me of that. So there's a section where there's a locked door, and then Leon has to go to the left to go and fight the Gloria las Plagas, you know, ganado. And, you know, a bunch of the ganado start. That section is what I'm referring to. So it seems like this is that hallway, but I don't see the bloodied guy. So If it is that section, I wonder if she's the cause of that bloody guy. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just, this is the wrong hallway. Because again, there's so many of these hallways that look very similar. I'm seeing that bench there. Very curious. I'm going to have to double check to see if it's that. I might be incorrect there. But again, really cool. Yeah, like I said, I had to push the image as much as possible just to see because it's so dark. Next shot, we actually see that first initial like entrance to the castle where Leon and Ashley talk to Salazar. And it's funny, if you come back here with Leon too, you do see the Gloria las Plagas, Ganado, the high priest, the red priest. So yeah, very, very interesting that, I'm very curious to see when does Eder come here. Obviously it has to be before Leon shows up or right after. So it's either or, but very curious as to when. But yeah, she's just fighting it. We know that it's that entrance hall for sure. Let's continue. Not much else to say here. Yeah, she's just fighting all of them. Now, the next shot, a very nice shot here of her going through this area. I'm assuming that this is going to be the courtyard section. So the labyrinth kind of mazy section. I'm assuming that that's where that window leads to, just because, or you know what? The other window that it could also be is just like in the OG. So, when right during that courtyard for the OG where Leon and Eder, they kind of talk. I wonder if this is the same scene. I'm going to have to see that scene again to see if that's that scene where she's talking to Leon and then after this happens. But you know what? My guess is that this is probably going to be right before the courtyard, because there is a thing here where she actually opens up the window, and again I try to push the brightness just to see what we could see, but again it's not working. Yeah, that's the max I could push it. Yeah, I can't really tell where exactly this is. If anything, those trees, I know they're everywhere around the castle, but I also know that section also, there's a specific section when you fight the why is the name the Novistadors? The Novistadors, when you fight the Novistadors, there's a section where you kind of go outside to go into that great hall where you fight the Novistadors. It could be that area. You know what? I'm going to have to double check with that window if it's in that section as well, because I do remember there being windows there. So very curious as well. Anyways, let's continue. Next up, we have this room right here. This room is very interesting. I don't remember. Now, in the trailer, we actually see Eder going down, rappelling down, I guess. Not really rappelling, but you know what I mean. She's just descending with her hook gun. So I don't remember this location in Resident Evil 4. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I can't think of where this could be. I honestly don't remember there being a location like this. Again, I try to push the contrast. I'm going to try to zoom in on the bright area just to see if we notice anything, because yeah, I don't remember there being this kind of a room that you can actually go to. But of course, we do know that separate ways is we are going to be going to new rooms or new areas, just like the DLC did. So yeah, and wait a second, is that a dead person? Is that a doll? What is that? Is that a doll? Yeah. So we do know that Ada's repelling here, but wait a second, is that a doll? That kind of is very reminiscent to Code Veronica, if that is. What do you guys think? If that's a doll, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's such a dark image. I'm just going to leave it there for a second. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, very curious. I don't remember this room at all or going through it in the main game. But yeah, anyways, let's move on. Next up, we have Wesker. Now, I was actually super hyped when we saw Wesker in the thing. We saw Giga Chad Wesker coming back. So really cool. But what's interesting here is that we see him leaving his computer screen. So, you know what? I don't know why we got that scene. Maybe he's just getting upset at Eder, or he's deciding to walk everywhere and he's talking with Eder. It doesn't look like he's talking. It looks like he's just walking, to be honest. So I wonder if this is the end of the game. Because you guys remember that in the end of the game, she's having a conversation with Wesker. She asks Wesker what he wants to do with the Las Plagas thing, the capsule that she has. And he's saying, I have a plan to kill billions of people or whatever, that whole speech. And then she gets pissed off, and then she just tells the helicopter guy to turn around. So she's obviously not going to go and meet Wesker. So I don't know what she does with that vial, but very interesting. Is this the conversation right after? So is this the end of Separate Ways, and we see Wesker kind of get upset? He's going to say something like, "Oh, she went rogue," and then he's going to go off to chase her or something, and then then we get the curtains, the final curtain that says the end. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what's happening here, because it wouldn't make sense for us to see Wesker before him leaving the control room unless he's going somewhere else and he's going to another computer. But it seems like that's his main, his main computer area. So my guess is this is probably the end of Separate Ways. It's probably the end where, Ada's told them off, and then he just, he leaves the computer room and kind of goes into the darkness. I'm assuming. Again, guys, I don't know. This is the best that I can theorize here, because that would be weird if this was like a shot before. Of course, then I did rework this for a thumbnail that I had later on. But yeah, very curious about this scene. I don't know. I'm very curious to see. But again, we only have to wait 1 week. We don't have to wait months like when Resident Evil 4 was announced and stuff. Resident Evil 4 remake. So anyways, let's continue. All right, so the next photo, we actually have Ada going to the village. So this is also very interesting because, of course, we do know that Leon has to take the Sea-Doo. I think that's what it's called. I don't know the name of that vehicle. I think it's a Sea-Doo. I don't know. But anyways, we do know that Leon obviously uses it to escape. Now, in the OG Separate Ways, we never got footage of how Ada got to the island. So that just begs the question. Is this, and we also, one could say, well, then when did she get there? When did she go? Because we, of course, know that Ada comes to the island with Leon. So this has to be way before. So my theory here, and this is something that I was actually theorizing. I was actually working this theory up for another video, but since you guys are here, we're talking about it. 1 week to go. My theory here is that we're going to get... So in the OG Separate Ways, you guys know that, Ada gets knocked out or whatever, and then she gets taken to like the underneath, like the lift area, right? In the OG. I think that after she wakes up, she comes, she realizes, oh, I just got knocked out. I think she's going to get infected. I think that's what's happening. She's going to get infected, and then obviously she needs to go and help Luis. Because in the Resident Evil 4 remake, we do know, of course, that she meets Luis, and Luis is like, oh, I need to go get my pills or whatever. I need to get the pills, and he gives that to Leon and Ashley. So anyways, going back to my theory, is she going to go with Luis, and Luis is going to be an AI companion back to the island, and he's going to go get his little stuff. He's going to go to his lab, get the vial or whatever. And then when he comes back, obviously that's when he dies or whatever, with Krauser and all of that. So very curious to see if this is her going to the island. So for me personally, I probably believe that this scene, the only way that it's going to work is either it has to be way before, the village section. So probably like her starting off the mission, she brings her Sea-Doo to the island and has a conversation with Krauser, and it's going to be completely different, right? The completely different timeline. Or she's going to get infected, because this trailer does give us that indication that she's infected, and she has to go to Luis's lab and get rid of the parasite after the castle section. No, it would have to be before the castle section. So right after the village section, when she realizes she's been infected. So meanwhile, while Leon's in the castle section, she has to go there, and then obviously she comes back with the other boat. She comes back with the boat. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth. I don't know how they're going to do it. Very curious. I don't know if that made sense, guys. Let me know. But yeah, obviously the timeline's going to be a little bit different, because this scene right here isn't going to work, because again, we do know that Ada comes back to the island she goes to the island with Leon, and then, but we don't know how she got the Sea-Doo on the island, just like the OG. But I love how the remake is going to give us more information on this. Okay, next up, we actually have Ada listening in on Ashley. Now, we actually see a bed right here, so we know for certain where this is. And that's kind of creepy, because she was right above Leon during this whole time, because I remember in this specific scene is when, Leon goes and rescues Ashley on the island section in that room, and, she's lying down on the bed. So very interesting. Does she go to bed and stuff? But after Leon, speaks with Ashley, he gets a call directly for Ada. So I'm curious, if you play that section and you look up, do you see a gate? Or is that going to be a new thing? That's also kind of funny, because Ada does call Leon right after he has the conversation with Ashley. So I don't know how that's going to work. Very curious. But yeah, definitely creepy that she was just hanging up there. And then, of course, I did brighten the area. And yeah, this is definitely that area where he talks with Ashley when she wakes up. I'm pretty sure she wakes up yeah, she wakes up and then he speaks with her. He lets her sleep, I think. Or he speaks with her and then she falls asleep. No, I think it's the first one. But yeah. Yeah, so this is the next scene. She's just looking at them, which is super creepy. Anyways, let's continue. So next up, we actually have... Oh, I missed an image. Sorry about that. So next up, we actually have a fight. So this is very interesting. So this leads me to believe that, you know what, like in the OG Resident Evil 4, you could pick which side you go to. You go to the Bella sisters or you go to the El Gigante, or you could do both. But in the remake, we never got that. So this is obviously that El Gigante that Eda fights, because I'm pretty sure Eda also fights an El Gigante in that same area. But this is different because this section right here is the windmill section. Now we're going to zoom in and look at any other details we can see. But if I look, and again, this was very, very blurry, guys. I'm sorry about that. It's very blurry because, again, it was very dark. Like the game developers did not want to let me see what was happening here. So again, I did edit it. But again, when you edit it too much, it becomes blurry, it becomes choppy, right? So it doesn't matter, though, because we know we have enough information here to see exactly what's happening. So she's hooking around. She's fighting the El Gigante. And right here is our biggest clue. Right there, that windmill. So also, the other thing that I also noticed is that it's raining too. And I wasn't sure if that stuff in the middle here on the left of his hand, if that's water. So if there's like a whole bunch of water that's falling or coming from somewheres, I don't know if it's like a dam or something. I wasn't sure. Looking at the trailer, I'll have to look at the trailer again to see because, again, it was very dark. So yeah, but obviously we do know that this is that windmill section. So right at the farm section in the village. So right after the village square, we do know that there's going to be a fight here. So very interesting. So obviously it is going to be different, right? We're not going to that same area with going to left and right. This is just going to take place in the farm area. But again, very interesting, very exciting to, dude, I can't believe it's coming out next week. Let's move on. Yeah, she's just getting the plaga. It's the same at Gigante there. She's fighting. Again, you can't really see too much here. So yeah, all we could tell is that it's definitely happening in the farm. Unless there's another windmill, but to my knowledge, there isn't. So yeah. Now, next section here is the island section, and this is Ada actually descending. So here, I'm very curious to see when this takes place. Does this take place before when she drops off the Sea-Doo, and then after she goes back to the castle, as mentioned before? Or does this take place after when she fights Krauser? Because she fights Krauser in the OG up on that area up ahead. I'm pretty sure. And this is something that I mentioned in Resident Evil 4 Remake and in the live stream. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm 100% certain that section is that because later on I'm gonna brighten it. Because I couldn't really see there. Yeah, so this is that section where you go down and there's the crane. You can actually see the crane up ahead. So the section on the left, I'm pretty sure that whole section is where you fight, where you can fight a Krauser in the OG. It's that same section. So again, since Ada's going to the island twice, one time to drop off the Sea-Doo, and I as mentioned, either the theory goes that she starts off her whole campaign by starting off on the island, or she comes back to the island after getting infected. That's my theory here. So either this is her the second time that she's already in the island, she already came back to the island with Leon on the normal boat, or this is her first time. And also, the other thing that we also didn't get in the remake was that whole scene where Ada is talking with Krauser. So if you start off on the island, that would be interesting. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, that wouldn't work. Because the game Resident Evil 4 Remake starts off during dawn, right? It starts off during dawn, and they go and it's noon, and then it goes to nighttime, and that's it wouldn't work because right here this looks like it's the same time of day as when Leon and Ada get to the island. So this does lead me to believe that this is actually the second time that she's on the island. So that leads me to believe, wait a second, she is going to be fighting Krauser. So yeah, but also but going back to what I was saying before about Krauser and her meeting, that whole, when Krauser's tossing his knife and stuff, we never got that in the remake. And I'm curious if that theory of her starting off on the island is going to be a thing, right? Is that going to happen, or is this going to happen before? But wait a second. Now that I'm thinking about it, sorry guys, I'm thinking about the OG and the remake, and I'm getting confused with the new timeline. But wait a second. In the OG, she does talk to Krauser before. So as soon as Leon and Eder split up, she goes and talks to Krauser. So that could still work. Never mind. That could still work here. Yeah. So she meets Krauser, then Leon fights Krauser or whatever, and then she's gonna fight him up there. I don't know, but also, you know what? Again, there's discrepancies, because in the remake, and this is something that I mentioned too in the live stream, when you kill Krauser, he looks dead. Like, he legit looks dead. You know, Leon stabs him or whatever, and he's like, "Kill me," or whatever, and it kind of just breaks it. So is Eder gonna be fighting Krauser? I'm very curious, guys. I don't know if that's gonna be a thing. Yeah, because that was something that I mentioned in the live stream. That would make no sense. That would just mean that Krauser was just laying dead on the floor and pretending to be like, "Kill me," and he's just being dramatic. But then Leon stabs him. He's like, "Oh," but he's like, "Never mind, I'm back." Like, that would just be weird. So that they could just omit that whole section, but that would be kind of lame, because I mean, we all liked that section, right? Let me know down in the comments. Did you guys like the Krauser fight in the OG? Yeah, so this scene right here is very interesting. But as mentioned, I think what's happening here is that since the time of day does give a huge clue here that this is definitely when Eder drops off Leon and then goes off, right? She goes off. We don't know what happened to her. This is that time, because I wouldn't say that this is before when she dropped off her Sea-Doo. So yeah. Anyways, let's continue. Next up, we actually have a picture of her talking with Luis, brightened up here. And yeah, so we actually have this picture. She's in a house. This is obviously the village section. So this section right here, it's alluding to the fact that Eder got infected. So this has to be right after she gets taken. Right after she gets taken, she gets knocked out, you know, after she distracts Leon from Torres Mendez. And also, almost, you know what? There's another theory here. Is Eder going to fight Torres? Is that going to be a thing? Or I don't know, man. I'm getting hyped, man. I don't know. Because in the OG, Torres Mendez, after, you know, the same thing happened in the remake. She distracts him, she shoots him, and then he jumps out the window. And then Leon's like, what the frick? He continues on his journey. But in the separate ways, we see that another Ganado shoots her with a tranquilizer on her neck. And that's when she gets knocked out. So this is obviously happening right after that scene. That's my best guess here. Again, this is all just me theorizing, but it has to, because in the trailer, we do see Luis talking about this, and he does mention that she's infected. He says, "Oh, with all my research, you know, you definitely have the symptoms." So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. And then also, I think that might be the same scene. But anyways, next shot, we actually have a shot of her going through the lab section of the island. And the reason we can tell that is, you know what, if I move my face right now, let's see. Yeah, you can actually see that this is an Iron Maiden. So yeah, this is definitely an Iron Maiden for sure. So all I can say here is that it's definitely on the island section. Again, I try to brighten it up as best as possible, but this is those tight corners in the island section right before you fight the Iron Maidens. Anyways, let's continue. Next up, she actually has the vial with the Las Plagas. All right, next up, we actually have a picture of where I assume that she was by the lake. But you know what? Now that we're looking at it with the next images, you can definitely tell that this is actually right next to the lake, but it's on top of the castle. So yeah, so this is definitely a castle section with her. There's no doubt about that. Now, the next image is actually very interesting because it actually shows that she's infected. But here's the thing. In the OG, she was never infected, right? She was never infected. There was never a scene where Ada's like, "Hold up, I got to go to the machine and get it extracted off of me." So, but again, since this is a remake, a lot of things are different. So a lot of like minor things, so minute things, but very interesting. So, you know, my best bet here is that when she gets knocked out, she's going to get infected. That's my best bet here. That's the only way things would work. You know, I was even thinking maybe Capcom is trying to capping, you know, and she's not infected, but she's just having a nightmare while being tranquilized. That could also be the case, but you know what? After everything we've actually seen with all the dissecting we've done with the previous images, it would make sense that she is infected, because then it would make sense for her and Luis to have some kind of scene to go back to the island, get something for her, and she gets the parasite taken away. But yeah, I'm very curious, guys. Only 1 week away and we'll get to know the answer. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to click this video where I answer the question, is Separate Ways going to be a paid DLC? Anyways, thank you so much for watching.